So someone requested that I talk about the reading lists that we have for the different papers that we do each term. So I thought today in this vlog I would share with you our reading lists. So to share with you the reading list, I thought I would show you a reading list. So here we have the reading list for my China paper, which starts off with introductory text. So just giving you the historical context of the country and how the political system operates. Also included in this are up-to-date newspapers and articles that you can follow. Then we come on to the different topics that you study throughout the term. So every single week you write a 2,000 word essay for each of your papers. You do 2 papers. And these are the different topics you can choose from. So within each topic there are different areas. For instance, you have the rise of Mao, you have the Great Leap Forward, and you have the Cultural Revolution within the first topic that we did for China. And every week you're given an essay question which is contained within that reading list. The questions are flexible. If you do want to do a specific area instead of the area that is specified within the question, you can ask your tutor to change things up for you, so you can very much make your degree what you are interested in. Of course, you also need to have the base level of knowledge to be able to take the exam at the end of the year, but on the whole it's very flexible. Now I know what you're thinking, because I thought this when I first saw a reading list. There is a ton of books on that. How do they do 2,000 word essays per week and manage to read all of these books? The answer is we don't. There might be a ridiculous genius within Oxford who probably does. However, on the whole, the majority of people pick out the books that they think are the most important for answering the questions, skim through them, find the relevant parts, sometimes read all of them page cover to cover if it's a particularly vital book that gives you the backbone of your essay or the backbone of the topic. But on the whole, you just read smart. That's probably one of the greatest skills you'll come away with having done a degree at Oxford, especially with PPE, being able to take a wealth of information and narrowing it down to the parts that you specifically need to get the job done, and then regurgitating that in a coherent argument. That is an incredibly useful skill. So obviously I have reading lists for all of the topics that I do. So I have readings for history, philosophy, for ethics, for political theory, for Japanese politics, for Chinese politics, for South Asian politics, for comparative government, and for international relations. Now there's not really much point me telling you this, so I thought instead of just like gloating that I have these reading lists, I would share them with you so you guys can check them out, and if you're interested in those topics or you just like to get a better insight and flick through the document yourself, you can by clicking Naruto. I'll put it here. Or you can click down there and I'll put a link in the description. I'm pretty sure I'm not breaking any university laws by sharing with you these reading lists. However, get them while they're hot, because if I do find out that you're not allowed to do it, then the link will die. Now coming back to the more predictable side of this weekly internet show. What have I been up to this week? Well, it was one of my best friend's birthday, who is featured in this very, very, very wet video. And also this week it was my sister's birthday, and I went home this weekend to say hello to my family and to celebrate her birthday with her. In fact, I only got back to Oxford about 30 minutes ago. So, happy birthday again, Sarah and Matt. And one of the greatest perks of going home for one of your family members' birthdays is that they give you a ton of cake. It's a good bake. So coming to the academic side of things, last week I focused on China, so this week I thought I would focus on my South Asian politics module, and I have been looking at Hindu nationalism. The most striking thing about Hindu nationalism in India is the fact that there was a nationalist movement for Hindus in India, despite the fact they make up, I don't know the exact statistic, but it's at least 80% of the population. How did the Hindu population manage to feel like a minority in a country where like 800 million of them, out of like a billion-ish, are Hindu? To give you some context, this stuff happened. So India democratizes in 1947, and loads of the lower stratas of society who were in the lower ends of the caste and class system that was in place in India begin to mobilize politically. So now they're participating in the democratic process, they want to begin influencing the agenda, the political agenda. But the middle classes and upper castes, they aren't too happy about this because, well, you wouldn't like it if you've had control over everything and then suddenly the people who you were oppressing suddenly want to rise up and actually have some influence, would you? This built up through the years as more and more people began to participate, but they didn't necessarily have an impact on the agenda. They were just participating in the democratic process, i.e. they were voting, but their vote wasn't really having much of an impact. This is because the middle classes and the upper castes still had a tie to the administration, so they basically were controlling the bureaucracy, and that was the deciding factor on the whole, that influenced what the political agenda actually was. So the lower castes could mobilise as much as they want, but they wouldn't influence the agenda. However, they still valued the fact that they were in charge of the government. Ultimately, they were the thing that was influencing the government, and at least one day of the year, they were a significant citizen within the country, and that is more than they had for hundreds of years prior to that. So don't think that that was a disheartening thing. It's progress. Some guarantees that were in place to ensure that the lower members of society were able to participate in society in certain spheres, such as the government, education, etc., were commissions that were put in place. Quota would be a better word than commission. There were certain quotas in place for a percentage of people who needed to fulfill certain positions within the government, within education, within certain jobs, who had to be from the lower members of society, the lower stratas. However, when the Mandel Commission said in 1989 that at least 27% of people fulfilling the jobs in education and in the government had to be from other backward classes, well, the middle classes and the upper class didn't like this. This meant that the people who they were trying to oppress would now actually, they were guaranteed to be able to participate within the democratic process, and it would be more likely that they'd be able to influence the political agenda, which threatened their dominance. So, Hindu nationalism. So there you go, there's a bit of background to the story as to why the middle classes decided to begin embracing the Hindu nationalist movement. Essentially, it was a means for them to vent the discontent and the frustration that they had and the anger of the lower members of society kind of screwing with the system that was in place. And it was a threat to their actual power to influence things and get their own way for businesses and for them to make money. Of course, that isn't the whole picture. I am slightly painting the Hindu nationalist movement as completely negative. There are also things that people would argue that there were conflicts between them. Islam and Hinduism, and also Sikhism. For instance, there was a mosque, there was great controversy over a mosque that actually got demolished. Well, basically it revolved around the sentiment that Hinduism should be spread throughout the world, and it was their duty to have a clean and pure political system to allow them to do this. This is obviously the more extreme end of things, not everyone really believed this. And of course, the people who were at the lower ends of society, who were uneducated, come from different backgrounds, didn't necessarily believe the Hindu religion, they were seen as corrupting this. They were seen as the cause of corruption and bad policy within the country. And if you think that, then it's a good excuse for you to do what you want. If you sincerely think that, then that's kind of silly, I think. But that's my opinion, isn't it? And that's also politics. So, let's wrap things up. If anyone does know anything more about Hindu nationalism that you would like to put down in the comments to enlighten me, because you potentially have experienced it firsthand, please do. I'm sure everyone else would really appreciate it as well, because we seem to be quite an engaged bunch with this kind of stuff. In other news, I believe this weekend was Comic-Con. Unfortunately, I didn't make it. However, one of my friends did, and 10 points to whoever can guess what character she went as. Also, shout out to everyone who is following me on G+. Yes, you can follow me on G+, and if you do follow me on G+, because you are clearly a person who is very engaged with this thing that we do right now, I will be sharing with you exclusive content and more personal things that I wouldn't necessarily put into a vlog, or I don't have time to put into a vlog. So if you are interested, feel free to follow. There are currently, I believe, 10 of you. So, hello. As always, Oxvlog is still going strong with people uploading videos every single day of the week. If you would like to check out their videos, I'll put a link to their channel on the DFDBA poster, and I'll see you next week. Bye.